Good morning, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Glory Sessions from Primal. We're back. Can't wait. So excited. Yeah, it was good. I've been already close to two people, two groups of people, and the buzz is great. And you know something, it's great when you actually get to do what you love doing. It gives you that buzz again, and I've been missing that interaction with people, and it's just fantastic. Jimmy, how's it going, mate? So today I want to talk about your true limits, and why I want to talk about this is because I've just finished reading the book again for about the 8th time. A guy called Viktor E. Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. If you haven't ever read it, you need to read this. Basically, it's about this Jewish psychologist who was put into Auschwitz during the Holocaust. I can't remember the word there. And his experiences and how he's seen it from his own personal point of view and from a psychologist's point of view, studying the human mind and studying how humans react to these situations. And it's a very profound book. You know, it makes you think. It makes you think very strongly about life and how things have happened and what has happened in life. And basically, in the book, like, this guy was just a normal dude, psychologist, not what you would call like a born fighter, shall we say. But through his experiences, I think it was 3 years he lived in the camps, and it was like his bid for survival, what life threw at him and how he overcame it, and the things he had to do to ensure his survival, and also him noticing other people's approach. And it's her harrowing. Some of the things you're reading it would break your heart to listen to. You know, the guys, he was talking about like how cigarettes are the currency in the camps, and that no one ever smoked cigarettes until they decided that they were going to kill themselves. And he always said you could always know when someone was coming to the edge, when they're giving up hope, because they would start smoking their cigarettes, and that would be like crazy to do that, because cigarettes allowed you to get food, cigarettes allowed you to get freedoms and get maybe clothes and actually things like that, because that's how you traded. So when people started smoking cigarettes, that was a sign that they'd given up within a few days, and people knew they were going to be dead. And the reason why it's so profound to me and why it clicked in my head today was because today, the society we live in, the world we live in, we think we're hard done by, especially in 2020, 2021. We think we're hard done by and things have been tough. But it sort of makes you realize that things could always be tougher. You know, we haven't really faced, 90% of us, 95% of us haven't really faced true challenges yet. And it's only until we're put in that position can we truly know what we're made of. And the world we live in today, it's very diluted. There isn't much challenge. It's not like we have to grow our own food, we have to hunt our own food, we have to go out in the cold rivers to get drink washed and all. We've got hot water, we've got food on tap, we can just go to the shop. Our inconvenience is if our shop is shut and we have to go further down the road to get another shop. You know, that's for us, that's an inconvenience. But this conditioning of accepting that this is how life will be and this is how life's going to be continually is bringing us to a false sense of security, to the point where we are not ever testing ourselves. We're never really pushing ourselves and seeing where our true end range of limits are. And right now, we've been given a taste of how life can change very quickly and how we need to learn to adapt. And we've been shown how we all can adapt to different situations that are outside of our normal everyday living experiences. But what are you doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis to test yourself, to push your boundaries, to see where you are, see where you're at and see where your limits are, and then getting that baseline level and then trying to expand it? Because, like I said, 2020 showed us, life does not continue on the way we believe it's going to continue on. There's always going to be some sort of things that are presented to us that are going to challenge us further. They're going to make things harder for us. And unless we have, exposed ourselves to maybe a diluted version of this, well, then we're not going to be able to cope as well as we possibly could. I liken it to the way I train my members. If my members can lift 100 kilo for one rep, then there's no co-workers going, I'm not going to give them 100 kilo and tell them to lift 100 kilos all the time because that's their 1 RM. I'm going to drop that right back to a weight that I know that's going to be so comfortable that they're never going to be challenged. And then I'm going to slowly build that weight up day after day, week after week, until they reach the 100 kilo mark. But by that stage, they've become so used to 100 kilo, they've become so used to the weights below it that 100 kilo isn't a challenge. And it's like that with life. You know, there are some people cope with what 2020 and 2021 threw us a lot better than others. And that's because over their lifetime, over their experiences in life, the people they surround themselves with, the jobs they do, whatever it is, it's helped them become more adapted to the pressures and the stress that life can throw at us. While there's other people who have lived in this bubble of security, thinking that life is going to continue on the way it's continued. And then 2020 hit us, and they couldn't cope. They literally, and you see them today, they're running about and they're screaming at people for not wearing masks, and they're panicking, and it's a genuine fear. They've been conditioned to absolutely fear everything. But that is not healthy. You know, mentally, they're in a bad place mentally. And that's because they have never allowed themselves to be exposed to the challenges of life. As humans, we are not designed to live in this level of comfort. It's just, this is unprecedented for us to live in this type of comfort. And because it's unprecedented, we've forgot what it's like to be human. To be human means to be challenged. It means to be able to overcome obstacles. It means to accept hardships and make the best of hardships. But we've become so deluded in our lifestyles and so comfortable with what life gives us because it's so easy for us in the Western world I'm talking about, that when something like 2020 hits us, we're not able to cope with it because our minds, it'd be like me giving someone 110 kilo when they've only ever lifted 100 and demanding they lift it. It just becomes too much for them. So, if anything, this lesson of what the last 14 months have showed us should be teaching us that, you know, we maybe should be exposing ourselves to more and more challenges. And it doesn't matter what the challenge is, it's a personal experience. If walking a mountain is a challenge for you, well, then you should make that walking a mountain a daily or a weekly occurrence until that walking a mountain just becomes your normal exposure or your normal baseline level. And then when that becomes easier, then you maybe expand it out to something else more challenging, maybe rock climbing. And maybe when that becomes more comfortable, then you go to something else, maybe, I don't know, cold water therapy, whatever it is. These are just examples I'm giving. The point is, the principle is that you're exposing yourself to something you're not comfortable with, and you're allowing yourself to become more comfortable with it. And that's building up resilience. It's building up a mental fortitude that you now know that, yes, it might be good, you might enjoy it, but you can't cope with it. And it's through being able to cope with these things that allows you to cope with the stresses of daily life, because we are not, we're not designed that we're not going to live like this. It's going to get worse before it gets better in these situations. And the book, like Man's Search for Meaning, like I said, Viktor E. Franklin, that guy was a psychologist. He didn't know, he had never thought to himself in any lifetime would he have been exposed to these situations, to these this environment of watching people die on a daily basis. And he said that he speaks about that. He said, like, the first day he arrived, he was just in complete shock. But there was people there 4, 5, 6 weeks, a couple of years there, and they were so immune to the death, so immune to the suffering, that they would just stare and just watch other people being tortured by the prison guards with a blank look in their face. It was almost like he said that as long as it wasn't them. And that life had beaten them down. Life had shown them they were purely in survival mode. As long as it wasn't them, it didn't matter. That's a horrible place to be. Now, of course, that's a very extreme example, but it just shows you what the average human being is truly capable of if presented with that situation. But hopefully we're never exposed to that situation. Like, let's hope that we at least learn from history, though we don't know if we have, that we can't allow that type of stuff to happen anymore. But this type of stuff, there's people breaking down, there's people unable to cope with the stresses of being around human contact now. And that's because we've been so cocooned in this fake bubble of reality that now that the world is exposed us to what life really is, there are some people who are in complete meltdown. And that's because they've allowed themselves to live in this comfortable life, never been exposed to the challenges. And there should be a lesson from that. We should all learn that we can't we shouldn't allow this to be our normality, that we need to challenge ourselves on a better level. That, like this, like I said, the small diluted experiences of discomfort gradually increasing more and more and more is going to allow us to build that mental armor, that physical armor to cope with these situations. But anyway, that's us today. That's us for the week. Back to the gym, over the moon. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.